This is the add-in that we will be building in this section. So this add-in basically fetches or browses a folder, the path that you give, and then from the directory it gets all the files and folder details which are present. It even goes up to several sub-level limits, sometimes all sub-level limits, and fetches all the folders, and then prepares or populates the data into the active worksheet, and also creates an hyperlink in such a way that when the user presses the hyperlink, the file or the directory will be directly opened through the default program that is designed to open it. So we will see a short demo. So this is the base settings, and you could see some error here, directory path is not valid. So you can go down. So directory path is not valid. So because directory is missing, there is no directory, that's the reason it is gray. Now there are two ways how you can enter directory, actually three ways. You can enter the directory by copy pasting the value, or you can browse, or you can get path from cell. First let us begin with copy pasting some cell, copy pasting some value. I am copy pasting a location. The moment I paste, please pay attention to the bottom here. The moment I paste, the directory path is not valid. Okay, so it is still there because I didn't move out. The moment I move out, it turns green. It turns green because now the path is valid. The next error it says is please select the target to create hyperlink. So the target comes from here, create hyperlink, but before that we'll go back. So this is correct. What happens if I delete some value? If I add some different value, it turns red, which means that this particular directory path whatever I have entered now is wrong. So this also does auto validation. When you enter a path, if the path is wrong, it should be red. If the path is empty, let's say I select everything and delete, if the path is empty, it should turn gray, meaning there is no path. If it is wrong, it should turn red. So the same happens with browse as well. If I browse and select some folder, the path is correct, so it is green. If I add some extra value, basically there is no path like that. So what happens? It turns red. That's okay. Next, get path from cell. So what does this do? When you select this one, it will enable you to go back to your Excel and choose a cell. So the moment you choose a cell, the folder will be selected or the directory will be obtained from there. So pay attention to the left hand side here. When I press, it says sheet change is being monitored, meaning whenever there is a change in the sheet, it will be monitored. Just pay attention. Now sheet change is being monitored. I go to the sheet, I choose the C1, and the moment I choose it, the folder whatever value we have given here, visualization is obtained, and this is now a valid path. So this is what it does. It gets the path from cell. So this is the first path, and second one is, do you want to search the current directory or the whole directory including the subfolders? Let's say current folder, and do you want to get files and folders, or both? Start row is 3, meaning the population of the results will start from third row and first column. This is fine. Let's go to file settings, get all file types. If you want to restrict to file types, you can change selected file types only, and you can say like get me only zip files or mp3 files or mov files, something like that. But in our case I will choose any files, and create the hyperlink on the name data. Select all, go out. I will remove level now. So we are going to populate the name of the file, when it is modified, basically it's the last modified time, directory size of the file in KB, and then type. Start. Total of 9 items are found. Do you wish to create hyperlink? Yes, the 9 items are created here. Let's see. Before that, let's go to the folder and see, do we really have 9 items? It was coming from the visualization folder. So this visualization folder, if I select everything, in the bottom I see 9 items selected. So it means there are 9 items available. Of the 9 items, I also have the option to see that there are 4 files and 4 directories, and if I press this Excel VSTO here, it should open up the folder for me. If I press, there are 4 files which are through a proprietary software for editing the course that I'm doing now, and you also could see the size of the files. Let me delete the directory here first for a second. The size is 11 KB, 2 KB, 7, 121 KB, and folders does not show the size because it is associated with the files. Now let us remove everything. Open the application back. Now I don't want only the current folder. Give me the whole subfolders. Start. A 260 items are found if you include the subfolders in visualization folder. Do you wish to continue? Cancel it. Go back to visualization folder. So which means to say that there are 260 items present. So you can now select include sublevels. Do not go to all sublevels. Just check only one level. Earlier it was 9, now it is 47, meaning only 47 items are present in first level subfolders. So you have a main folder inside which you have one subfolder, and one subfolder is level 1. If you go one level beyond, you now have 62 items. If you remove limiting sublevels, then this is disabled, and start. 260 items are present, yes, and then all the 260 items will be generated here. Now you have all the files which are present, including folders, file names, and all the files. Everything is now present, and I can go until down. So there is a PNG. If I press the PNG, it should open me up the PNG directly. There is a MP4. If I open the MP4, it should open me the MP4 directly. So basically what happens is it just uses the default program that is associated with opening the file. So this is the application that we are going to build in this section. We will build everything from scratch based on the markup. Now, to make it easy for you to traverse or browse to the lectures, I have added a couple of prefixes like UI, Excel, Logic in lecture titles. If a lecture title has UI prefix, then it means that I'm going to talk, most of the part will be about how to build the UI. If the Excel title has, if the lecture title has prefix or a keyword Excel colon, then it means that we are going to discuss about some important Excel technique there. So those are the lectures or the topic that you should not miss. If you are comfortable with building the UI using Windows Form or WPF, and you don't need support, or you feel like those chapters or sections are going to eat up your time, then you can skip the videos with the prefix UI. But I will always suggest, if you have time, go through those videos as well. It will come in handy. So that being said, you need to pay attention to the keywords or the prefix in the titles. That will be easy for you to browse. Start with open up your Visual Studio and start a new VSTO project. So I have Excel VSTO add in here, and let's name it as hyperlink maker. It's going to be in the same solution, and we are going to call .NET Framework 8. You can choose anything you want. I will start with 4.7.7. Okay, so we have an Excel. We call it as a hyperlink maker. That's okay. Now this add-in is the methods here are all the boilerplate codes which comes along with the Visual Studio, the VSTO template. The first thing that we need is we need a ribbon. So add new item from the office template. So the ribbon visual designer is here, and let's name it as uh, link ribbon probably. Okay. The thing about ribbon is that if you are building it for your company or something, you might want to name a separate ribbon. And then if all the ribbon has the same ID, you mean like this is a separate project, right? What if you want to build another project and that project also should share the same ribbon? So because here you are going to add one button which will do the hyperlink making for you, and you will be opening up, or your colleague will be working on some other project where he also needs to add some buttons. So in such cases, the common ID is your when you select the tab, the control id. So the control id is the important one. So if you are going to have different projects and each project is going to share the same control id, then what happens, whatever button or group that you place here will be merged with the other the same inside the same ribbon along with other add-ins. So for our case, we will just start this with the control type is not office, which means office is the default one. We will make it as custom. If you want, you can keep it same as add-ins. But what happens is when you prepare the application, it will show up in the add-ins tab. So first thing, I'm going to make a common tab ID, which is Hippo Dairy Demo. This is just the id, Hippo Dairy Demo is the id, but the label is tab 1. So the label, I will call it as Hippo, or maybe it's a Hippo Dairy, so let's say Hippo, and that's it. So now you have Hippo and Hippo Dairy Demo, which is your id is most important, and you have a group. So let the first group be called as link maker. No, let's not change the id, let's change just the label, link maker. Okay, so the first thing that you need here is a button. So when you press the button, you need to open it up. So let's start with the button here. It's fine. And when with regards to the button, it's not a standard common controls. This is coming from Office ribbon controls. When you open up the toolbox, if you do not see your toolbox, go to view. If you do not see not only toolbox, if you do not see solution explorer, properties, anything at all, go to view, and here you should be able to see. Let's say let me show you. I did close my toolbox, close my solution explorer. So you can always go to view, solution explorer, it comes back, view, toolbox, it comes back. So you can get it from there. If you want to show some image, because now currently this button doesn't have an image, if you want to add an image, all you need to do is you need to add an image here, and before that you need to change this show image to true. When you do that, you will be seeing empty image here. So let it be there at present. We will change the image at a later point. So now we have a click, double click on that, and it should be coming here. So you have a link ribbon, which is your which is the ribbon that you created, and inside the ribbon you have a button, and you call it as button 1 basically, and you click that, you will be coming to this place. Put a stop point there, and now let's add some folders. Controls, view models, resources. Okay, now I'm going to start the hyperlink maker, the debugging. Whenever we set up a project, it is always a good idea before even putting major code changes, just to do a debugger, so that you see whether the add-in that you created has come up or not. So now the hippo, which is basically the tab that we created, comes up, and then the create link, whatever we created, the button also comes up. When you click this, you are able to reach here. So it's always a good practice when you are working with the Excel add-ins, and not only Excel add-ins, anything that when you have made the base setup, just test whether the skeleton is working or not. So that's fine, we have it here. So this is the first setup stage. This part we will see the different parts of the hyperlink maker. So you should be able to get this PDF from the resource section. So let me, okay. So if you could see, we have one overall window. So in the top and in the bottom, that's fine. And inside the window, we have two groups. One group is called base settings and another group is called target files. And finally, we have the field mappings. So the base settings, we are going to give in the directory path, basically the directory from where we want the files to be scanned. Now we have one more link above. Either you can browse the folder and choose a path, or you might already have a path which is copied or entered in your Excel cell. So in that case, you can select this and get the path from the cell. In either case, if this particular path is valid, we need to show a green color here, or if it is not valid, we need to show a red color. So that's the whole idea behind this controls. And then search mode, we know that we are going to scan a folder, but in the folder we might also have several subfolders. Sometimes even the subfolder will have another subfolder and another subfolder, and might go on forever. So we need to decide whether we are going to fetch the files in a one folder, I mean like in the top level, or to every sub level, or if it is going to be in every sub level, are we going to limit the level, like just to go up to one or two levels and then stop it. So this is what the search mode is all about. And the results, do you want to show populate the results of the file names or the folder names or both? And target cells is obviously from where you want the data to be filled in Excel. So if you could take a look at this whole this particular section, we know that get path from cell, which is going to interact with Excel. Basically, when you click this, you are going to able to select a cell in Excel, and or in any worksheet in the Excel, and you are going to get the data from that Excel. This is one place where you are going to interact with Excel. And second one is in the target cells, start row and column. This is a place where you will decide where the results will be populated. So the whole this section, only two places are going to interact with Excel. That's fine. But not only this, when you are building this application, you will also know how to fetch the worksheets, because anyhow you are going to get data from cell, which means you need to first get the sheet Excel application, and then everything. So that's there. And this part has nothing to do with Excel, because you are basically targeting the files. A folder might contain Excel file, text file, DWG, PDF, anything. You want any file type, or you want only selected file type. So this is what you are going to do here. And then the last part, this is also interacting with Excel. So this is the place where you're going to create hyperlink. And when before creating the hyperlink, when the file details will have so many information, like the directory name last modified. If you open any directories, for instance, any folder, for instance, like this, you should be able to see date modified, type, size, everything. So, or what are the data or details that you need to be showing in your Excel. So this is what we are going to see here, and you can choose them and create hyperlink. So where is the hyperlink created, whether it is in the name or size or anything. So after you set all these, when you start, you should be able to fetch the details, and you should be able to display it. Before that, we have a small note. If base settings is not filled or any value is not valid, then remaining sections should be disabled. It's obvious, if the directory is empty, then there is no point in setting these values up. So, which means only if all the values here are valid, like the directory is correct, the start row and start column are provided, only if these are valid, then you need to be able to go to the other sections. So that's what it's all about. So this is the information about the markup. You can download it from the description and you can take a look at it. So we will start building this UI first, and then we will start communicating with Excel, and we will try to finish it up fast. A quick note, the markups are usually prepared before the application is built. So that being said, during the course of development, we might come up with a better idea or better implementation that might suit our purpose. So it's not necessary that the final end product should match 100% with the markup. So it can vary up to a certain limit, but the functional requirements will be met. If you are going to download this markup and you are going to prepare it by your own, you can do whatever you want. You can either stick true to the markup, or you can modify and vary them as per your need. The demo that we are going to see now, we will obviously vary up to a certain limit in few areas to meet our needs. So the next step is to initiate WPF controls. You know, when we prepare or create a VSTO add-in, it basically starts only with you know Windows Form project. So you can see that when you right click anywhere and you try to add something, you will see that Windows Form user control. You don't have access to WPF. Now, how do you get that? When you go to references, you could see that it has system.xml, system.windows.form, but it has nothing related to WPF. So WPF is basically system.xaml, XAML, and it will also has presentation core, Windows based presentation framework, so several other references. There are two ways how we can do this. You can add reference assemblies. If you know what you are looking for, you can add them one by one. Maybe there is a possibility you might miss something. So in another easiest way, right click on the controls, go to new item. From the template that are installed, you should be able to see WPF. You have an user control here. Let us call it as entry view. The moment this control is added, what it does is it brings along with it all the references that are required for WPF. So you could go here and see, now you have presentation core, presentation framework, you have XAML, you have Windows base. So that's it. So now we have initiated WPF libraries or references inside our project. Now there is one more thing. This is added as a user control. So if you have already worked with Windows Phone, you know that user controls need some kind of a host so that it can be added to them and displayed. Generally, what we do is whenever we add a user control, we also add a window. In case of a Windows form, you will call it as a form. This one. Right click, add this forms, Windows form. In case of WPF, you will add it something called as a Windows. So you will, instead of form, you will see something called as Windows. Whatever it is, whether it is form or a window, these are a kind of like a dialogues which can be directly showed to the user. Like dot show dialog or dot show. So you can call these methods to display them. So that being said, this being the Windows Forms project, even though you have added WPF user control, you will not be, I repeat again, you will not be able to add, in the WPF, you will not be able to add Windows. The reason is this is a, no, as I said, this is a Windows Forms project. So this project, since this being the first project for us, we are going to keep it simple. So first we will build everything related to this user control, and at the end I will show how we will be able to add this WPF user control inside a Windows form. Basically it's kind of like an interoperability, and then we will display it to the user. But going forward in some other project, we will create a separate new project where we will add everything purely related to WPF. So this is about adding or initiating the references related to WPF. In this section, we will see how the interoperability between Windows Form and WPF works. Let's say you have a Windows form. Basically, it's a form, and you have now developed a user control in WPF, which is totally a different architecture. But somehow you want this WPF control to be shown inside your Windows form. For this purpose, Windows Form provides a class or a control which supports this, that's called as element host. So whenever you want to show a WPF control inside a Windows form, you use a control or a container called as element host. Now let's look at the other way around. You have a WPF window, and you also have a Windows Forms control. Again, two different architectures, but you want to show them. You have a class or a control called as Windows Forms host. So these two controls are supporting the interoperability between these two different architectures. Let's try to add a Windows form, and let us call this as main form. Okay, main form. Now this is here, and let's make some minor changes like the title. This is not your title, this is the key, and the text is your title. So because text, let's say hyperlink maker. You have the title hyperlink maker. And the next step that I'm going to do is change this style. So start position is location is center screen. Then form is sizable. So let's say not sizable, or let's say fixed tool window. It's fine. Let's increase the size somehow. We will come back to this and we will fix all those things later, but now all we have is a Windows form, which is fine. And as we have seen before, we need a element host. So go to the toolbox, search for element host, because the interoperability between element host element host. So this is WPF interoperability. So in a Windows form, if you want to show WPF control, you need an element host. If this is the other way around, inside a WPF control, you want to show a Windows form, you will use Windows Forms host. Drag and drop this. It's basically kind of like a container, which is now added. That's fine. So you don't have any content at present, let it be there, no problem. Dock in parent container. So when you press this, it is docked to the whole container size. So that's all. And you need to name this. Let's call it as yehost1. It's up to you. You can still not name it. That's totally fine. You can use the default name as well. Let us add some color to our entry view. Okay, this is not going up, but this is basically from here. This is stuck here. Okay, let's try to minimize them, refresh the screen. I don't know if refresh works, but still there. That's okay because this is some kind of a glitch. Just ignore that. The grid, I'm going to add a color. So I have selected the grid. went to this properties and background. I switched from no color to color, and I'm adding red color. So this is just to as you know, as an identification to see whether our view is getting added here or not. Basically, we have a WPF control, and then we have a Windows form. We need to see if interoperability works. That's the first step. To begin with, what we need is go inside the form, view code. When this form is initialized, you know for a fact that this form has a child or a host called as ehost1, because that's what the name we added, and child. So the host will have one child, which is basically an UI element. UI element, UI element is a WPF element. You need to provide a WPF element. What is your WPF element? Which is entry view. So let's say new entry view. We're not getting that because it is present inside our controls. Using hyperlink maker dot controls. Now you should get entry view. There you go. So what we have done now, we added a Windows form, and inside the Windows form we added an element host, and in the code, after the form is initialized, we are adding that host child to the host, which is the entry view. Now if you go inside the form and let's try to run this. Now before that, let me stop here. Even though we have added a form, we are not invoking or displaying the form anywhere. This is like, it's an independent activity. So that needs to be done inside link ribbon. So the ribbon control. The moment you click that button one, you need to show this main form. Main form is equal to new main form, and let's show dialog. Okay, so what we do when we press the button, we are showing the Windows form, and this Windows form, which has an element host, will call in this entry view, and then we should see a red color on the screen. If this works, then interoperability works. So let's see now. So we are now with Excel. Loading. Okay, typo, create link. So there you go. So what we have now is you have the Windows form, which host or which contains element host, which is docked, and inside the element host we are calling in the WPF user control, and everything looks fine. So we can be sure that interoperability is working at present. Okay, so let's stop debugging. Okay, now let's go ahead and start building the rest of the items. We are going to follow MVVM based approach while building the UI. MVVM based approach means we need to restrict the amount of code that goes into the code behind. Basically, you are going to split the logic from the view such that the view has no knowledge about what is the logic that is going to happen, and the logic will have no knowledge about the view. So basically, we are going to split them both separately. That's the base concept behind MVVM approach. When you open or right click any WPF control view code in the back end, generally this is what we do in Windows Form. We double click a button and then we write the code in the back end. So here we're not going to do that. So we are going to completely keep this empty. That doesn't mean that we need to keep it empty. There are places where you will be adding few codes in the code beginning, but that will be purely related to the view and nothing related to how the data is handled. So these kind of things MVVM. So that being said, we need view model. So we already have a view model. MVVM, as the name stands for model view model. So let's add a class and call this as main view model. Main view model. You can name anything you want. So let it be here public class main view model. We will come back to this because this is the main idea behind view model MVVM approach. You separate the view from the logic so that all the logic goes into one place or maybe in different places, but nothing will be directly associated with the entry view. So it's like it's like a shirt. You can have the same logic, but you can add any different kind of views to it. Go back to entry view. Let's remove the background now because this was added for testing and we know that it is working. That's good. Let's save this. Then we don't need this views folder. Okay. So we will add a new control and let's call that control as what do we call base settings. Since we have three parts, it is also easy to do everything in one go, put everything in one place, but I always follow solid principle, so I always build separate controls for each purpose. So new item, WPF user control, and let's call it this as base settings control or base settings view. That makes sense. Okay, so we have the base settings. Let's go down, and this is now the base settings. Yeah, base settings view. Before doing anything, we need some sort of to create this kind of this numeric up down is not present as a default control in WPF. And also when you're adding a text box, you do not have the watermark to be shown. So there are a couple of things which are not present in WPF by default. So that's the reason why we have been saying that we are going to add a couple of NuGet packages from the beginning. So let's add the NuGet package. Go to references, manage NuGet package, browse, search for Haley. Go for Haley WPF, and as I said in the beginning, I am the author of Haley WPF, and this is open source. You can check the source code from NuGet. This Haley NuGet package is constantly evolving and constantly being developed. I have been doing this for last 5 years. So now we have reached version 6 in MVVM and version 5 in WPF. So which means that today there will be a couple of methods whichever we are going to see now, and tomorrow I might be adding after a few months I might be adding a few more methods, or maybe remove some old methods and something might become obsolete, but overall this will all be for the benefit of the new features or enhancements. So always keep an eye out on latest changes and latest framework. In case you want to stick with old framework, you can still do that. So there we go. Let me save this. When you add it, you should get something called as notes. This is the notes. So if you have no idea about WPF, whole WPF works on the basis of something called as resource dictionaries, so or themes. So resource dictionary is kind of like merging existing codes or styles so that you can bring them all in. So you have this resource dictionary which you need to add, but before that you need to add a resource dictionary itself. But you do not see, or you will not be able to add resource dictionary at present because this is Windows Form project. That's fine. So you are going to start with add a new item. Just pay close attention and start with just fine. Just start with uh, user control maybe. Let's call it as hyperlink maker resource dictionary. Now this is an user control, right? So what you need to do is go to the backend code, select all, delete everything. This will not be the case in case of a WPF project. You directly have the option to add a resource dictionary. So come back here, change the user control to resource dictionary. So you don't see it, so let's say resource dictionary. There you go. Resource dictionary cannot contain this, cannot contain this, cannot contain this, and cannot contain this, and cannot contain this. All the errors, if you remove, this is what you have. This is your resource dictionary. You can even remove the class. You don't need a class. All you need is XML namespace X and then the local. That's it. This is now your resource dictionary. You can even delete your backend code here. That's fine. So resource dictionary is purely XAML file. It does not have something like this. When you see the user control, when you expand it, you have a XAML along with it a CS, a code behind. You will not have a code behind. This is your pure resource dictionary. And when you go up, now go to the notes, copy this resource dictionary, merge dictionaries. Let's go back here. Let's copy paste this. What we are doing is, this is the resource dictionary for this project, and I'm bringing in a resource dictionary from Haley.wpf. So Haley.wpf already has a dictionary which defines converters, styles, how the button should look, everything. So we are bringing everything here. That's what we are doing at this point. Now save it, close, hyperlink maker RD. If you don't want such a big name, you can still make it as, hyperlink maker RD, so that you will be frequently using that, so it will be easy for you. So hyperlink maker RD, let's close this, go back to our base settings view. You see XML namespaces. This is pretty much same like when we are going to any C sharp classes. Here you use using system data, so something like that about XML namespaces for the front end XML namespace. So we need XML namespace, and I'm going to give some kind of identification. So I'm calling a sketch W, which is Haley WPF. You can give anything you want. When you press equal and search for Haley, there are a lot of direct classes and there is a schema. So let us stick to schema at present. We will see all those things at a later point. Schema WPF, an XML namespace HM, which is for Haley MVVM. So you stick to the schema MVVM. Now this is done. So now you have set up or installed Haley WPF, and then added the namespace for Haley WPF and Haley HM. This is how you do it. And one more thing is, this is how you add a resource dictionary as well. Now, how do you bring this resource dictionary, whatever you have added here, into your control? It's very simple. You need to give the reference where the resource dictionary is. So user control dot resources and resource dictionary. Now again you need to bind this resource dictionary. So resource dictionary source is equal to, we are going to use something called as pack URI. In case you don't know about pack URI, you can just search some Microsoft websites to learn about the articles. Basically, application, it's to quote. Okay, first thing what you need is, you need the DLL name, which is basically your assembly name, not the namespace. Just remember, this is your DLL name, and your DLL name followed by component, and then followed by the folders. The first folder is resources here. Resource, not the first folder, the folder where your item is, inside which rd.saml. This is your resource dictionary. Now let's try to see, because your resource dictionary, you are adding it with user control, and this resource dictionary in turn is adding another resource dictionary from Haley WPF. Basically Haley WPF is the assembly name, and dictionary is the folder which is present inside it, and this is the file name. So that being said, you should now be able to call in. Let's try to build it and see if we are leaving all these errors. Okay, we have an error where it says each dictionary must have an associated key. Let's go to HLMRD. This is fine. Let's remove this. Come back to our base settings. Resource dictionary. Okay. You know why? You know what happened? You need to merge another dictionary. So you cannot directly call a resource dictionary dictionary dot merge dictionaries. So this is, you merge a dictionary, and that's fine. Now you see your UI as well above. Now let's try to first initiate by calling in a numeric control, and let me split the screen like this, screen like this, screen like this. Okay, I'm going to call a numeric, I'm sorry, incrementer. It's called as incrementer. Let me put it up, and I'm seeing the incrementer here. So that's fine. So what we have now is we have added a Haley library, and from Haley we have added the namespace, and then in the solution explorer we created a new resource dictionary. Resource dictionary is pretty much like a simple XAML file without any code behind CS, and inside this resource dictionary we have merged, remember it, merged dictionary, merged our resource dictionary from Haley. So this resource dictionary already contains several styles and everything, and then so this is like an entry point. All the resource dictionary from different places will all be put into one place, which is this one, and this one we will be in turn referring inside our control. So we are keeping it simple. We don't need to add everything. In future we are going to add a 10 resource dictionary from 10 different external libraries. You don't need to add everything inside your controls. Like this, you don't need to add everything here. So we are keeping it simple. So that's it. Now we will continue with using the Haley to build other things. Now that we know how to add all the references, let me remove this. Yeah, so let me remove the incrementer, save this, and go back to the image. So let's directly start with this base settings. This is present inside what is this group, right? So let's say that grid itself is a group. Okay, let me turn on this white. So this one, when you turn on, you will be able to see that's in the white color. Let me minimize it down and remove it, and let's try to split it. That's it. Okay, so base settings, we have first one. Let's say the grid is for the base settings, and next one is you have one row where you are calling directory path. So let's start with stack panel. Both grid and stack panel are containers. The thing about grid is this is kind of like a tabular column where when you add something, everything is added in one place, and you want to split them all, you need to assign different columns and different rows. But whereas in stack panel, as the name suggests, you are stacking one above the other or one next to the other. So we are going to stack them first. So start with the stack panel, which is for stacking things. And first let's start with the text block. Text block is kind of like the label in Windows form, directory path. So text is equal to directory path. Are we seeing it somewhere? Okay, this is it. There we go. Our control is very big. Let's make this 100. Height is very small. Let's make it 300, and let's make the width as 400. Remember, this is design width and design height. This doesn't need to be like same what you will see. So you have a directory path which you have added here. You should be able to see this. If not, I will increase them a little bit. Okay, you have a text block where you have added directory path. On the other end, you have something else called get path from cell, which is a linked text, or like a hyperlink. So inside the stack panel, let's call it as a grid. Just the reason for calling a grid is kind of like a container where you can place objects one above the other. Like let's say if I place something like this and change the name, you could see that one above the other is placed. So how do you organize them? You need to switch them to the locations. Horizontal alignment, if I change to right, so both the text block, this one, first one and the second one are in the same grid, but this is aligned to the left and this is aligned to the right. That's how you do it. So in the right side, you don't need a text block. What you need is a hyperlink. With WPF, you can create hyperlinks like text block, and inside which you create hyperlink, and inside which you put the text hello or whatever you want. And I'm sorry, without the quote. And if I write horizontal alignment right, you get it here. but this maintaining this is, all these things we can remove them, because Haley comes with something called linked text directly. You can call in linked text, and horizontal alignment is right, and you need to specify a name or text. Text is get path from cell. That's okay. So now you have something like this. That's fine. You have a text block and then you have a linked text. Both are in same line. And in the next line you have a text box and then a button and then a small circular thing which will show the different colors. So this is for the first line, and let us add some overall. Let us add some margin. Margin is equal to, let's say, 5. So when I say the margin 5, in all sides you have 5 for this base grid. Now inside the base grid we have a stack panel. Inside the stack panel you could see, when I select it, you could see the highlights around the bounds. Overall grid, stack panel, and inside the stack panel you have the grid. So we need a margin. Let's start with another grid. In this grid I am going to add a text box. So the text box takes the whole space. I do not need the whole space, because at the end I need to add two items, browse and then an icon. So I'm going to create a grid dot column definition. So basically I am creating columns inside the grid. I'm going to now change the order so that it should be easy for you to understand. Okay, at this point, if I add a column, it will directly create, if I add two columns, it will directly create in the center. So first column and second column. Since you do not specify anything for this text box, it obviously takes the first column. If I say grid dot column is equal to 2, it goes to the right side. It's not 2. Column starts from 0, 1, so it's the right side. So let me remove this as well. Okay. So the column, the right side, we need two columns. One is for the button, one is for the small icon to show the status whether the directory is active or not. But these should not be of the same size. So the right side, the last one, let me say with this equal to maybe 35. That's more than enough for us, or maybe 30. That's fine. And this one with this equal to, let's say, auto, which means this is now empty. Based upon whatever content that falls in there, the size will be adjusted. So first the text block, and second I have a button, and I will say the width of the button is maybe 120, and this button goes into grid dot column 1. So now the moment I close it, this 120, so the column, second column, which has auto width, takes the 120 size. Let's change to 100, and let's add the content. Oh, sorry, content is browse. I don't need 100. Let me stick with 80. That's fine. And finally, I have to add a circle here. We will come back to that later. We will come back to the circle later. And now this is it. But this whole grid is, touching or attached to the above grid. So I'm going to add a margin and say, if I give 10, it is added 10 on all sides, but I need 10 only on the top and bottom. So which means you have, it starts with in a clockwise direction, left, top, right, bottom. So if I give 0 comma 10 comma 0 comma 10, what happens is left 0, it's in the clockwise, as I said, left, top, right, bottom. So 0 is for left, 10 is for top, 0 is for right, 10 is for bottom. This is one way of doing. If I give 20 here, then the right side you will have 20. You have 20 here. If I give uh, 20, 19 here, and the top you will have 19. So you might not see it now, but if you check here, between these two there is a size of a distance of 19. This is one way of doing, giving all four sides. Or you have like horizontal and vertical, which is basically the first one is horizontal 0, the second one is vertical. If you give two values, it will take it as horizontal and vertical. If you give four values, it will take it left, top, right, bottom. So now you have it. The top and bottom I have given 10. That's fine. This is all fine. And let's go back. As I was saying before, I don't need this kind of button. I can go with Haley WPF button as well, which is something like plain button. So this plain button, the reason for using plain button is it is customizable. You can add images, you can add colors, you can add highlight colors. Pretty much you can control them all. You can even add corner radius. Corner radius is equal to 5. You get corner radius 5 here, which you will not get in kind of it is possible to take it in button, but you need to make a lot of modifications and changes. So that being said, let me copy this. I don't need a button, I need a plain button from WPF. So I just started with to show you the difference. So plain button, I can now control the margin, maybe 8, and I can also add border colors. The same border colors you can add there. You also have a lot of other features which I will explain later. And now for the text box as well, here you see you do not have, when you enter the value as text, you say hello, the text is shown as hello, but you do not have the option to add a watermark. So that being said, we will change it to plain text box, where you have the watermark. So watermark is equal to um, enter directory for scanning, or you can do whatever, enter whatever you want, directory path for scanning. Now this is done, so I don't think we need this directory path as well, but let it be there. This being a section, let it be there. So directory path for scanning, and you have browse button, and finally you have one circular icon that you need to add. So you will add something called an inbuilt control ellipse. Okay, the height, let's say 20, and width, let's say 20. Let's fill this, and this one goes to where a grid dot column is equal to 2. So you have a circle here, but you do not have a color yet. So let's say fill is equal to gray. Okay, let it be there, and we still need to add a lot of triggers to it to see how we can change the color based upon whether the path is valid or not, but we will come back to that later. But now this is fine. So now we have this first part, and second parts are going to be simple. So you have a search mode. So grid is there, and then we'll add it in another grid. So it's not a grid basically. This is going to be a simple text block first, because you need to say search mode, and after that we'll have margin is equal to 0, 10 inside which you will say current folder include subfolder, and include subfolder will have one more line here. So let's say radio button, content is equal to current folder only. The second one is radio button, and now instead of adding as a grid and aligning to the right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a stack panel again, and here the orientation of the stack panel, I'm going to call it a horizontal. So here radio button content is equal to include subfolders. So there you go. But both of them need to have some kind of margin between them. So here I will add a margin is equal to 5, 0, because I don't need a margin vertically horizontal, I just need here. So search mode, current folder, and subfolder. When you include subfolder, what you need again, you need some kind of um check which should say limit the folder level. So that is another checkbox that we will do in next line here. Let's put everything together in stack panel. Everything goes into one stack panel into another stack panel. So So inside the stack panel, we have a stack panel. So when you are closely following it up, you should know, like, one stack panel is going inside. It's basically a stack, and this one is a horizontal stack. And again, if I add something, that is going to be a vertical stack. It will come below the that one. So I'm going to add something called as checkbox, and then followed by what is this? A numeric counter. So I will copy the same. I will put it here because I want again another something as a horizontal stack panel. This one is a check box, and content is limit sublevels, and followed by something called an incrementer. Incrementer. Now this stack panel, I will horizontal alignment is equal to right. So now I have it here. Now this one, the checkbox, I don't need it to go up. So horizontal alignment is center, or horizontal content alignment is center. No, it doesn't work. So let it be there, whatever it is. And now we need to have a distance. Margin is equal to 10,0. So far, good. With this whole stack panel, I'm going to add a margin. So between the distance between include and limit level. So margin is equal to 0,5. So now there is a gap between these two. Now here the checkbox I'm going to change to plain checkbox from Haley, so that it now comes to the center, because there are a couple of things in default WPF settings which setting them up becomes a little bit difficult. So that's the reason why you have plain check. That's the reason why you need to extend everything in WPF. So is this checked? Is checked is equal to, if you give true, then that is true. We don't need to check it at present. Let it be there. And the incrementer as well, since this is from Haley, you can set corner radius, let's say 3, 5, and you can still set up the colors and everything, but I'm going to keep it as it is now. For the incrementer, we are not going to allow negative, so allow negative is equal to false, because the sublevel should be there, and this is going to be an integer, right? So numeric mode, number mode is integer, so we don't need to enter double value. So this is an integer value, 1 2 3, it should increment, a negative value should be false, and increment is there. And current folder, let us begin with is checklist equal to true. Is checklist equal to true? That's fine. So now you have this two. This is all fine. And what else? Let's go back here, and you have results and target cells. You have to add the same way. I will add the folders and target cells. Okay, let's take this whole stack panel again, or the whole set of group again. Add it back, and this one, let's call it as results. And here you have 3 radio buttons, which says folders, files, files, folders, both, and both is checklist equal to true, and margin is 15. That's fine. And next one is target cells. We don't need these things. That's fine. And next one is target cells. Let's copy this again. Go down a bit. Target cells. And this is going to be start row, which is basically, in a stack panel horizontal, you start with text box, text block, text box, text block. So first one is text box, text block, and text is start row, and you again have one more thing, and you call it as start column. Then you have text box. Let's go with plain text box. So watermark is equal to 3. So starting row is 3. And let's copy this again and put the starting column is 1. and we need to adjust the width as well. So width is equal to, let's say, 50. Let's adjust width is equal to 50, and we need some kind of distance between these two, right? So in the plain text box, let's say margin is equal to 10 comma 0. Let's do the same here and here, so it now moves away. And again, as we said before, if you want a corner radius, if you want to look it a little bit nice, you can still do that. And corner radius is here. So now we have something like this. Let's just switch this and see, is this what we need. So basically now we have the base settings. We have directory path, directory, browse, and then you have, there needs to be a gap between these two, which we will do shortly. And you have limit sublevels and everything. That's all fine. Oh, oops. And you have target cells. That's also fine. Now, before doing anything, I want to do one more thing, which is put everything, whatever we did now, inside an expander. So there is a default WPF expander, which I will call expander, and put this inside the expander. Now you see this is the expander. So when you press the button, oops, yeah, it's still there, it's still there. So this is the kind of expander. Let us minimize this. So you press the button, you see. Press the button, you don't see. And for the expander itself, you can give a header. Header is equal to base settings. So now it comes like this. You expand, you close. Now I don't like this, this kind of is like old school, so I want to go with Haley the expander. So expander. Plain expander comes with so many features. We can set up colors, we can set up bottoms. Let's say background is equal to purple. Can set up the background. We'll stick with something light blue. That looks nice. This is checked or is opened, something is expanded, I believe. Is expanded is false. So it's fine. So we have a stack panel. So let's remove the stack panel now, or let it be there as well. So you have the settings now. Let's add one more, margin is equal to 5. So everything comes inside. And I will remove the grid. So now everything falls inside the plain expander like this. This looks a little bit better now. You have an expander, and inside the expander you have all the contents. There is one small gap that needs to be done, so let me select this button and add a margin. Margin is equal to 10 comma 0. So now I have added a margin in the side. That's fine. So let us first save this, and we will continue with before continuing anything in the next section, we will see whether we are able to display this UI in the Windows form and we are able to see that or not. So we will go there. So we have now added the base settings, which still needs some work. This base settings now should go into entry view. So inside entry view we don't have anything yet. Even we have not even called the Haley references or namespaces, but that's fine. Okay, I'm going to call a stack panel, and first panel that I will be calling is this is another control which is present in the same folder, which means it is present in the same local namespace. So all you need is you need to call the local, which is because both are in the same namespace. If it is in another namespace, you need to call it, but both are in same namespace. Base settings view. There you go. You have got this one now, and let's add some margin. So since this base settings is sorry, the entry view is already added to the main window, so now when you open it up, you should be able to see this in Excel. So without doing anything, I'm going to build it to blank workbook, hippo, and create link. You have a hyperlink maker, and you have the base settings. So when you press down, you have this one. So you press down. So nice to do that. This is kind of like first group which is present inside a settings. Directory path is there, settings is there, but the search mode looks pretty much out of context. Like, why do I need a search mode like this? We need to group them all together. But before this is fine. This is fine. It is not going above the numeric value, and true, false. Let's go back to our UI again. So I'm going to add a group box. The group box title, which is header, I'm going to call it as directory path. And inside this, I'm going to copy or cut this and paste it. Oops, I did some mistake. What did I do? What did I do? Okay. Group box accepts only one child. Stack panel you can add multiple child. Plain expander you can add only one child. So there are controls which accepts only one child. So let's put it like this. Now you need to remove your. This is a stack panel again. Let's remove this text box. So if we zoom in, we should. Let's again. Let's see. You see, there is a small border following the group, which looks a little bit nice. And directory path is there, and get path from cell is on top. You can even make that go in the bottom. You don't need it on the top. The markup says so, but you can still improvise on the markup. So this looks a little bit fine. Okay, so this is a directory path. And even in the directory path for the plain text box, since we can add a corner radius maybe 3, but everywhere it will be round. So it's totally up to you to decide what you want to do with your corner radius and everything. And let's go down search mode as well. We'll do the same. To save time, I'm just fast forwarding the code. You can always take a look at the project source code to see what we have done now. Here 0, 0. Let's save this and try once more to see if everything looks fine. So now we can see that everything looks fine. Even the directory path, the browse, get path value, everything is inside their own group box. And same is there for search mode cells and other target cells as well. You can add some text. This is wrong. Start column and starts row should be only numeric. Let's save. If I close. Plain text box, and we need to restrict the input, right? So there is something called input ap, which is an attached property that is coming from Haley. And allow negative is false because you do not need to allow negative. And input ap dot constraint is integer. So basically this is will only accept integer. Earlier we were able to type in anything. Now this should allow integer. So let's. I'm typing several things. It's not working. I'm typing 4, and if I press dot, it won't work. And basically, if I type 1, it doesn't work. So basically, now this is restricted to enter only numeric values. You will not be able to enter any other values. That's totally fine. Everything else is good, and this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. That's good. Okay. Before moving, let me remove this background color. I don't need this background color. Let it be there. Fine. And I will add a corner radius by 4. Let's go for target files, which is collection here, and you have two more buttons. Add a user control and call it as file settings, right? Target files. So let's call it as file settings. You have base settings and then you have file settings. We'll do the same thing now. Instead of pretty much most of the things are copy paste. File settings, resources copy paste, and the Haley libraries copy paste. It's not basically copy paste. We already developed it in a previous section from scratch. That's why we are copy pasting it. It's not like I'm copy pasting from an already written code which is not shown to you. We are just copying from previous section. It's very like I'll take this command completely. Go to the here, set it. There we go. We have something like this now, and it's a very big width. Let's change the width size now to maybe 400. Okay, so the header is file settings and directory path. You don't need directory path. You directly have something called any type, selected types only, and add new extension. The search mode item. So let's take this search mode stack panel and copy it. Go up immediately next to this. Let's paste it, and we have, what is the title? Any type or selected type only. And you need to add a margin is equal to 0 comma 10. So that's fine. You have that, and then next one is you have like horizontal stack panel with horizontal orientation where you have 1 2 3, or you can call it as a grid with the column 1 2 3. Let's go with grid because we have a text box. When you start with a stack panel, the text box might not expand, so let's go with the grid. So the next one is a grid. So this plain text box where you say uh, add extension. So this one goes to grid dot column first column. So let me split it like this so you can see what's happening. So the moment I change this, moment I add this column, it goes into the middle, and the button should go into the right hand. So the column will go to 2, it goes to the column, and this one I'm going to remove the width so that it occupies the width of whatever is there, and even this margin I will remove, and the content I will say add, and I need a little bit margin to give a gap. So margin is equal to 5 comma 0, so which means that's fine. And this one is not an ellipse. I need something called a text block. Text is equal to, what is the text? Add, what was the text? Add new extension. Add new next. But I don't need a text block because we are already giving that in the add new extension. Giving that in the watermark, so there is no need. So let's keep it simple. So then it becomes like this. So there you go, add new extension, and you press add. or when you press enter here, it should add anything, whatever it is. We will come back there. So plain text works, plain button is there, and both are done now. And the next step is simple. What is this? List box, and you have two linked text in the bottom. So let's remove everything else. Let's remove everything else and add plain list box, list view. Okay, list view. The reason why I'm adding a list view from Haley is that normal list view you will not be able to bind. So that those things you will learn later. But now I'm going to add a height of maybe 140, so that it is of a certain height, and we don't need corner radius and other things, but let it be there. We will come back to this later. In the bottom, you need to have a stack panel with orientation. I'm adding it here with orientation horizontal. Why am I adding orientation horizontal? Because I'm going to add two linked text, and you know text is equal to select all, and one more one which unselect all, and this is stacked one above the other, but I need it in orientation is equal to horizontal, so it comes like this. And here I'm going to put margin is equal to 5 comma 0, so maybe 15 comma 0. It's fine. So now we have this. Let's save this and go back to your entry settings, file settings, which is added next to this. So let's save this, turn off the project code, and see if you do not have any errors. You have a both are now attached, so margin is equal to 0 comma 20. So no, that is very 10. 10. It's okay. Let's now try to see if it is there. It's okay. There we go. We have two, one which is this, and two which is this. Can close this, and any type, selected type, extension, add select all, unselect all, and then you have everything that you need. Now what we are going to do is we are going to add two different icons for this, and then we are going to before that, yeah, we're going to add two different icons for this, and then we are going to close and move on to the next section. So how do we add icons? It's already present in Haley. So go to your base settings. For the expander, what you have is called as an icon. So let's see if we have an icon. We have show icon. When you press show icon is false, the icon is not shown. So you have this icon. You can add images like using this pack dictionary. If you have added the icons, like you add a new folder where you say add a new folder images, so then you will use the same pack dictionary and refer to this image, and you will put it here. But remember, when you are going to add an image, that image should have a property. That image should have a property build action made as resource. Only then that will be called here. And in our case, there are around 300 plus images or icons already present in Haley. So I'll just call static resource and images. This is a folder, right? So folder. So I have added a folder icon. You do not see it yet because it is not added to the cache, but don't worry, you will see it here now. So that's it. You have a folder icon. And let's go to file settings. This is actually not file settings, this is a type of file, right? We don't know what type of file, so I'm going to add unknown icon. So icon is equal to, I'm sorry, remember, you are not adding this like this is stack panel, that's why I'm calling in the attached property icon. You are adding to plain icon is equal to static resource unknown file. If you want to see if it works, go to entry view, unknown file. So let's see that now. So base settings is there, file settings is there, and you also have got the icon. So base settings, file settings. The third part, which is field mappings. Let's create one more control and call it as field mappings. So that is the last view. As we did before, we copy it. When I say we copy, the ones which we have already done before, we copy it from here. There you go. So instead of fee file settings, this one we don't need it as in the form of an expander, right? Because this is going to be just like that. So I will remove the expander from here and also from here. So first thing that you need is kind of like a text block and then a combo box to select on which field you need the hyperlink to be created. To do that, the orientation is horizontal, that's fine, but alignment is right. This is now something like this. Instead of radio buttons, we create text block, and text is create hyperlink on, followed by combo box. Combo box should have a width. Let's say the width is maybe 120 or even more than that to be on safer side. And let's add a margin. Here margin is equal to 10,0. So it's only the horizontal margin. The next one, this is the idea behind that, but let's prepare something else. Let's prepare, a collection selector. What is a collection selector? Collection selector is something like this, it gives all the items that are present. So basically we will get all the details about all the what is it yeah, all the field details or file details, and from here we select something and you selected items will be here. So basically these are the items which will be then created or mapped. If you want to see what else it has, press F12 over this and it will open up the item. So it has selection change property, corner radius, item hover property, and you have something called title source and title selection. That's what I was looking for. So if you give title source, then the sources available fields. And the next one, this is how we usually do that. If you have a control, you select it, press F12, and then you can see all the properties that are available. No, with disregards to the base class will always have more properties, but that's fine. Title selection is equal to display fields. So now it makes more sense. Available fields and display fields, whatever is there will be displayed on screen. Now that's better. Now this is very simple. And now this being done, let's go back to entry view and add it at last, which is field map. It's a local field mapping view, and we also need a margin. Or do we? Margin is equal to 0,5, or maybe in this case I will directly take 15. That's it. That's it. That's it. For the visualization purpose, I will just make it as 800 so that I know what I'm doing here. I can see this. That is totally fine. Let us do a quick debug here. Now this is weird. This is not something that we expected, because the size of the Haley what is this collection selector has a minimum width, so that's the reason why, because to adapt to the highlight selection and select all, it has a minimum width. That's the reason why it's not getting fit up here. Maybe we can do something. We can remove the borders, or what do you call, margins, and then we can even expand this a little bit. That's what we are going to do now. So finally, let's go back here, and inside this one, the margin, let's remove the margins. So let it be very close like this, and go back to, let's remove that, and that is fine. Let's see here itself. What if the width is 500? What if the width is 400? We'll still be able to see until the width is 400, which is reasonable. So let's make sure that the minimum width is 450. So if we go below 450, this is not going to be any useful for us. So let us set it up here. Minimum width is 450, which means the width is going to be 450. And inside the main form also, we don't know what is the size we have set here. Size is somewhat 845 1385. Looks like it's very big. In spite of that, we didn't see it. That was totally weird. Let me go back again and see the minimum with this 450 and design with this 450. Let me remove the design width, and this is my minimum width. Before doing anything, we had one more problem before, which was a scroll viewer. Like it was not, you were not able to see when you expand both, you are not able to see. So let's put everything inside a scroll viewer. There is a default scroll viewer inside what is this WPF. You can select whatever you want, put it inside the scroll viewer, and you will see the scroll viewer here. But if you're not happy with styling the scroll viewer, generally it is not easy to style them. You can go with Haley. You have something called flexi scroll, and you don't see Haley items because you have not added the namespaces here. Let me, instead of copying, I'll do it this time. Haley WPF is equal to Haley schemas WPF. Haley MVVM is equal to Haley MVVM. So far we are using only WPF. Flexi scroll. It's now flexi scroll is there, but it is added. So let's add, type and see some properties, or let's go to the scroll viewer and see what properties we have. Corner radius, thumb background, which means you can change the color of the background, track, repeat button, everything, and auto hide. This is the property that we are looking for. Auto hide and enable overlay. So enable overlay is false, which means if you assign enable overlay, this will be overlaying on top of your controller. And auto hide, if you press auto hide is true, then this will be hidden. But when you are working on, when you move your mouse to the right hand side, you will be able to see. Now there are a couple of mistakes. First thing is the colors are not getting applied because the resource dictionary is not there. From Haley it is not there. So in the entry view, first let us add this one. The moment we add, you should be able to see this track, because the whole track color, everything is based on the resource dictionary. So without the resource dictionary, you are not going to get the colors or the borders applied. That's one of the reason why it was not fine. So enable overlay, let us just make it available, and auto hide also, let's make it true, and that's totally fine. Now you will see something like this. So auto hide is basically when you move out, this will be turned off, and that's cool. And width, it's not about the width now, so that's good. Okay, fine so far. And the next thing is width. I have fixed it, instead of minimum width, I'm fixing the width at 500 now. And let's go to main form. Let's make the main form, so open it up like this and keep it. But at present we just need to see if the scroll bar is working or not. So let's go back to Hippo, create link. Come on. Yeah, so now it opens it up, and when you open this as well, you see this is the auto hide. When you move closer, you should be able to see this. When you move out, that should still be staying there. This is it's pretty much like, instead of auto hide, this is pretty much like, auto minimizing that. You can still go up, and you can browse using a scroll bar. You can go up and go down. That's all fine.